Wellington's Heritage Advisory Committee. And I think I would just like to take a moment to thank Nico Vandersloot for sitting in as chair at the last meeting. And I really appreciate his helping out. And that was beneficial for me. I was able to get away to a family event. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Nico. And I understand everything went very well. So maybe, do you want to carry on? No. So a call to order, and any addendums and corrections or corrections to the agenda. Does anyone have any changes they'd like to propose? If not, we can move to the disclosure of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. No disclosures. Thank you. Approval and adoption of the minutes by consensus, I believe. Any concerns about the minutes from September 14th, 2021? Okay, then just please indicate your consensus that we're okay to proceed then. Okay, we have consensus on that. And that brings us to presentations. And I guess straight down to consideration of reports, I believe, 7.1, Bridge 24WG, which is, I believe, the bridge that has moved now to the preferred option of demolition with a commemorative strategy and design. Mariana, am I correct on that now? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, and so that's what we're being asked to consider this evening. I believe, I'm not sure which page of our, I don't have that written down here, but there is a page where, and I guess it's Stephanie will direct us to that. So Stephanie, go ahead with the presentation then on the bridge and what it is you're looking for from Heritage Center Wellington to help you with tonight.
Thanks, Phil.
And welcome.
Thanks. So I think one of our consultants, Dave Donaldson from Triton, is, oh, there he is. He was just in the waiting room to be let in. So Dave, I think, is once he gets active, there he is. I think Dave's gonna bring up the presentation, and we'll start with that.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, actually, I'm just looking into share screen, and it says the host has disabled the participant to screen share. So as soon as someone can give me that control, I'll gladly give you the presentation.
You should be able to now, Dave.
Let me try one more time here. How is that?
That's perfect. I can see it. Can everybody else see the presentation screen? Yep. Okay, looks like we're good to go. So thanks everybody for having us here today to begin the consultation process with the Heritage Center Wellington Committee regarding the replacement of the Cruden Bridge, which is also known as Bridge 24WG, in order to incorporate historically sympathetic visual design elements into the concrete parapet walls of the bridge, as well as to provide a commemorative plaque. So to give you an outline of our presentation today, Dave, would you be able to move ahead to the next screen or next slide? There we go. So we'll introduce the project team members that we have with you today and provide some background on the Cruden Bridge. And we'll also go through the highlights of the municipal class environmental assessment, and we'll outline the findings from that as well as the heritage recommendations. And we'll then show you the timeline for the Cruden Bridge project. And our consultants will provide some examples of historically sympathetic bridge designs that were done on some of the local bridges in our community. We'll also show you some particular options for the that are specific to the Cruden Bridge for sympathetic design images that could be imprinted on the concrete parapet walls of Bridge 24WG. And then we will show you the profile drawing that we have developed showing the bowstring arch of the existing Cruden Bridge. And we'll give you some examples of various bridge plaques that we've done on other bridges in the area. And then we'll finish up with an outline of the next steps and open up the floor for a discussion with the Heritage Committee. So by way of introduction, I'm Stephanie Rossi. I am the Capital Project Manager in charge of the Bridge 24WG project. And I work with the Township and the Infrastructure Services Department with the engineering group. Also with us today from the Township is Adam Gilmore, who's the Engineering Manager with the Infrastructure Services Department. And we also have two of our consultant representatives with us. There's Dave Donaldson from Triton Engineering Services, and Dave is leading our consultant team. And Dave is a municipal engineer and principal with Triton Engineering. He has about 24 years of experience in many local bridge design projects, as well as various road reconstruction projects. From Doug Dixon and Associates, we have with us Chris Middleton. He's our senior structural design engineer for the Bridge 24WG project. And he also has about 24 years of experience in professional engineering design of bridge structures. So with that, if we'd like to move ahead to the next slide, Dave. So here we see a map of the Fergus and Bellwood area showing the location of Bridge 24WG, which is on the first line just to the north of Side Road 10 in the semi-rural area just lying to the north of Fergus, which was formerly known as West Garifraxa. And if we can move ahead, there we go. So to give you some background on the Cruden Bridge, it is a 75-foot single span bridge. It is one lane and was constructed as a concrete bowstring arch bridge, and it spans over the Irvine Creek, and it was built around 1922. So the bridge was closed in July of 2018 due to the severity of its structural deterioration at that point. And then later that same year of 2018, we began a Schedule B municipal class environmental assessment to identify potential solutions in order to address the advanced deterioration and determine a recommended preferred option for what solution to move ahead with implementing. So the EA study included a cultural heritage evaluation report, as well as a heritage impact assessment and a hydrologic and hydraulic analysis, as well as a natural environment review and an arborist's report. 4 alternatives were considered during the EA study, and those included the do nothing, which is essentially maintain the status quo of leaving the existing closed bridge in place, and the structural deterioration would continue and the bridge would remain closed. The second alternative considered was to rehabilitate the existing bridge in place. And we also looked at replacing the bridge with a new bridge structure, and finally reviewed removing the bridge, which would mean that that crossing along first line would have been closed. So the impacts of each of those 4 alternatives were evaluated, and we looked at a set series of criteria, mainly including structural technical considerations, such as were there going to be load capacity limits for the bridge? Were there going to be height limits? Was the bridge going to be able to accommodate two-way traffic? Would large farm vehicles and equipment be able to fit across the bridge? The safety of the bridge structure and roadway and the road geometry were also considered, as well as the traffic capacity. And we looked at things like the safety of the guardrails and if the guardrails would be able to meet current bridge code standards. So in addition to the technical considerations, we also looked at the natural environment, things like impacts on the watercourse or on the wildlife habitat. And we also considered social and cultural and heritage criteria, as well as financial considerations. So all of those evaluation criteria were applied against each of the four alternatives that were being considered. And then through consultation with the public and the many agencies involved, the preferred solution was determined to be replacement of the existing bridge with a new concrete girder bridge structure. So if we move ahead to the next slide, please. Thanks. So for the highlights from the municipal class environmental assessment, the recommendations of the Heritage Impact Assessment Study regarding the bridge sympathetic design and commemorative strategy, that included three main recommendations. The first of those being that the bridge in its setting should be professionally documented before any construction started. So that has actually already been done. It was included as part of the Heritage Impact Assessment and the Cultural Heritage Evaluation Report. And those documents are both available online at our website, connectcw.ca. The second major recommendation from the Heritage Impact Assessment was that the replacement bridge structure should be designed in a manner that is sympathetic to the cultural heritage attributes of the existing bridge. So for example, cast in place concrete barrier walls could be designed to incorporate the visual elements that are sympathetic to the look and aesthetic of the existing bowstring arch bridge. One way of doing that is for the exterior finishes or impressions to be cast into the surface of the concrete barrier walls, and that those impressions or finishes could feature an arch design. The third recommendation from the Heritage Impact Assessment was for the development of a commemorative strategy, such as a historical plaque to include heritage information about the Cruden Bridge, and to also feature an image of the bowstring arch bridge, and that heritage plaque should be located at the bridge location. Next slide, please, Dave. So to give an overview of the timeline for the Cruden Bridge project, the original bridge was built in 1922. And here we are roughly 100 years later, getting ready to replace the bridge in 2022 next year. So the bridge was closed in July 2018, and the Class EA was then began in November 2018. The EA process included 2 public open house meetings, as well as 2 meetings with the Heritage Committee. And the EA was completed, and the notice of completion was filed in January 2020. Subsequently to that, in February of 2021, we awarded the bridge design and construction tender and contract administration to the Triton Engineering Services team. And here we are today in October of 2021, beginning our consultation process with the Heritage Committee for our commemorative strategy. So looking ahead, we hope to receive input back from the Heritage Committee around the middle of next month to find out which of the sympathetic bridge design options is the preferred version for the imprint in the concrete parapet walls. And then we've allowed some additional time for the Heritage Committee to provide their input on what they would like for the wording on the Heritage Plaque. So we're hoping to hear back from the committee on that by about March 2022. And following that, we would move forward with issuing the tender for the replacement or the construction of the replacement bridge in February 2022 in order to then begin construction of the new bridge in spring of 2022. So next slide, please, Dave. And actually here, I'll turn the presentation over to Dave. I think he's going to give us some examples of different cast in place impressions that have been used on other local bridges.
Thanks, Stephanie. To all you, thanks for inviting me here tonight. We'll go through this. We have a couple examples here for you of impressions in previous cast in place bridges. The first example we have up here for you tonight is the St. David Street Bridge, which is in downtown Fergus. As you guys can see here, the representation that was designed actually was the arch appearance of the original bridge that actually was put into the actual new concrete barrier walls back in 2018. It's something to notice for this project. This cast in place impressions are only visible on the outside of the bridges, not on the inside of the bridge walls. Second example we have for you is the Bain Bridge, which is actually currently under construction. Should be hopefully done actually within the next month or two. The design engineer actually did a replication of the actual former bowstring arch with the new concrete barrier walls actually used for this bridge in the township of West Garifraxa. Something to note on this bridge, these cast in place impressions are on the inside only of the actually newly constructed bridge on the fifth line. And now I'm going to direct your attention to Chris Middleton of Doug Dixon and Associates for our Cruden Bridge 24WG.
Thanks, Dave. Hello or good evening, everyone. So Cruden Bridge, we've basically shown here the standard parapet wall with the railing. So the upper one here will be what the standard parapet and standard railing on parapet would look like with no sympathetic impressions cast into it. The main purpose of it is just to show that the existing structure is fairly long from end of parapet to the other end of the parapet. It is a little bit longer than the existing structure. And that'll become a little bit more evident in the next slide or the next option below, and I'll explain. So in option 1, we've shown the impression on the inside face of the parapet wall. And that is basically a scaled down reflection or replication of the existing barrier that's on the current Cruden Bridge. So you'll see there's the middle portion with the number of posts, the number of spacings over the 17 meter length. The 22,860, that's actually the clear span of the current bridge. So the current 75-foot bridge, that shows you the clear from abutment face to abutment face of the current structure. So it gives you a little bit of a concept or an idea of the difference in length of the proposed new reconstructed bridge versus the existing bridge. The existing Cruden Bridge has the arch, which goes up and there's through a through arch with bracing above the traffic lane. And that's what you see there in that little gap in between the cluster of railing and the single ones that stand alone on the side. Those single ones are basically at the current position of, again, the existing railing. So the 31,394, the second dimension down from the top, that dimension is from out of post approximately to out of post of the railing, and that replicates the 113 feet which is the current length of the existing bridge when you take into consideration the clear span plus its retaining walls at each corner. So essentially option 1 is reproducing a scaled down version of the existing railing that's on the current bridge on both sides. It's very similar. So then you can see the new wing walls will have no impression on them. Those are the 4990 ends at each end. That is basically all new structure beyond what's the current one. So that's kind of all that we've shown on this particular detail. So the next slide will show a couple other options where this time we've actually incorporated the arch. So again, this arch, similar to the St. David Street Bridge, Highway 6 in Fergus, the option 2 has a scaled down replica of the arch on the parapet wall. The standard parapet walls, you'll see in all 4 cases, we still maintain the 825, which is your standard crash-tested barrier. So basically the arch that's there shown in the middle, centered on the parapet, is reproducing the existing arch that's there now. And it goes over that. When you scale it down, it's basically just over 4.4 meters. In comparison, like the original arch is over 4.5 meters high, and we're scaling it down so that's only 825 high. That again is very similar to what was done on St. David Street. Then in the final option that's being presented here tonight is option 3. That one has the arch, again, the exact same reproduction, scaled down version. And both of these do not have the railing shown in them. It's just too small of a scale to kind of make clear on either of these options. But this one here, option 3, shows the arch with a height that is greater than the 825. So we would discontinue, break the current railing, and have the arch project above the top of concrete parapet wall, similar to what they have or are doing on Fort WG. And with this one, the height of those, the arch, we've shown it right now as 1050. So that I don't think, no, it's not shown on there, but that height there is 1050 from the bottom to the crest of the arch. So again, being scaled down, it appears on the face of the parapet wall, but there is still a bit of white, clear parapet face, like almost 12.9 or 12.9, almost 13 meters from the arch to the expansion joint. So those are the options that we've presented at this point in terms of incorporating some sympathetic commemorative impression on the existing barrier. So it's the existing railing or the bowstring arch.
Thanks, Chris. And just to reiterate to the actual committee tonight, all 3 options, those impressions, whether it's the railing or whether it's the arch itself, are on the inside only of the proposed parapet wall. This next slide here is actually an elevation drawing of the existing Cruden Bridge. It's something we've actually drawn up in AutoCAD, and it is quite as near as a replica as we have possible to the existing bridge, which is down in the picture in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The Heritage Committee is more than welcome to use the elevation drawing as part of the actual plaque. As Stephanie's mentioned it later, we're hoping for your input in the plaque. We'll be looking for your input as far as the wording or the narrative that would be on the overall plaque for the Cruden Bridge. The next several slides here are just some examples of previous commemorative strategies or examples that we've actually done throughout the township. As we've mentioned earlier on, we are currently working through the township on the Bain Bridge on the 5th line for WG. And this is just a small commemorative plaque, which would be used for that bridge. Second example we have for you is back over in Elora for the former Victoria Street Bridge. Again, just a simplified version elevation drawing on the plaque with some, with some commemorative narrative commentary put towards the previous bridge in its place. The third example we have for you actually is the St. David Street Bridge, which actually was built back in 1926. Again, a small plaque actually, which was used to commemorate the previous structure back in that era. The next and final slide here we actually have for plaques, which was done on 27 WG on the former township of West Garifraxa out on the 20th Side Road. That actually was the Kerrs Hill Bridge. That plaque actually was put in place in that part of that construction back in 2017. The next slide we have for you actually is illustrating various slide plaque mounts. The first one here on the left-hand side is a typical pedestal mount, actually was put in the St. David Street Bridge here in Fergus. The next two is the most common, actually, which is in the Kerrs Bridge and the Bain Bridge. They are recessed plaque mounts. And the last example we have here in the bottom right-hand corner is the surface mount, not as common. In this particular example for the first line for 24 WG, we would propose that we would not be putting the plaque on a pedestal mount for two reasons. One, we do not have any sidewalk like it was in the St. David Street example to mount the pedestal on. Plus, given that actually it is only a 2-lane rural road, we do not have a safe enough area for any onlookers or tourists, what have you, rural area people who want to come and look at the plaque. We don't actually have a safe area for people to park on the side of the road while still using traffic to go and actually view the actual plaque itself. Plaques are typically put on the approach end of a bridge. In this case, this would be on the southeast corner or the upstream side, or if it was actually on the downstream, it would be actually on the northwest corner. So that would be the two proposed locations of actually putting in the actual plaque. For this bridge, we are currently actually only looking at proposing putting in one plaque for the commemorative example of the Cruden Bridge. Stephanie, I'll let you summarize.
There you go, unmuted, that would help. So thanks, Dave, for that. And to highlight our next steps. So today we hope to have a good discussion with the Heritage Committee and get some initial feedback on the historically sympathetic bridge design and the commemorative plaque, and to answer any questions that you may have. And then we look forward to hearing from you, hopefully around the middle of next month, on what your preferred option is for the sympathetic design imprint for the Bridge 24 WG concrete parapet walls. And then we've allowed some more time for the Heritage Committee to think about what wording they would like for the historical narrative for the commemorative plaque. And we're hoping to receive that input from the committee by about mid-March 2022, as well as what location they would prefer for the plaque to be embedded on the bridge itself. And once we have that feedback from the committee, we will work with the plaque manufacturing company to get a plaque proof, which basically shows the overall layout of the plaque and how the wording will be arranged on the plaque, as well as the bowstring arch image. And we will develop that final plaque proof and then have that to provide to the Heritage Committee. Following that, we are planning to move ahead with tendering the construction of the replacement bridge in February of 2022 in order to then begin construction in early June of 2022. So I think that might be our last slide, Dave. Oh, we have a thank you. So we do appreciate this opportunity to provide you with this information today and to open the consultation process with the committee. And I'd like to open the floor for any discussion or feedback or questions that the Heritage Committee members might have for us at this time.
May I jump in?
Sure.
I'm Christine. I'm listed as Mark, but that's my husband's name. Stephanie and Dave and Chris, thank you. I think this is a wonderful presentation, and it makes it really easy for us to get an image of what might be put in place. And I look forward to our discussion amongst our team for going forward. But I do wish to start off with a thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Yeah, I might add then that we can have this discussion, and we could still also entertain some additional discussion between now and our next meeting, which is in sometime in early October before the 15th. So I would say we could proceed to get whatever clarifications you need now from Stephanie and Dave. And then we could have a bit of a discussion between ourselves after that, and then make any decisions about how to proceed for the following meeting. So yeah, go ahead, Christine again.
Are there any price considerations when looking at the surface mount or recessed mount of a plaque?
I would think that they're fairly comparable, and Dave or Chris, you might know better. Like there might be some slight variation between the three parapet wall impression options, but I think they would be in the same kind of ballpark.
And in terms of the standard or the option 1, 2, or 3 for the bridge construction, differences in price that the county might need to look at? Do we have to be sensitive to that when making our recommendation?
Perhaps I can just suggest there, Christine, that that's not something typically we would look at.
Thank you.
We're mainly concerned with the aesthetics of how it goes, and if they've been, I might be. You can just confirm this, Stephanie. If you presented these options, then we're able to choose between them based on our consideration of the heritage aspects of this.
Yeah, that's correct. They're all valid alternative options for the sympathetic bridge design. We tried to get images that reflected either the bowstring arch or the existing railings, essentially. So the input that we're looking for from the committee is really just what your preference is for which of the aesthetics you prefer the look of for those three options.
Yeah, and can you guys hear me okay? Dawn's here. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. I would agree that I think that's our first stage, if I'm right, Stephanie, right? And is we're looking at the design first, the plaque second, and on our schedule here, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, to get the ball rolling, I mean, we all have our own opinions about it. I certainly like the one that was very similar to this before. I think the profile number 3, which is the one with the arch, and the guide rails on both sides. Am I speaking about the right one? Is that number 3?
Yes.
I think
You
so.
can bring that. I mean, for my own standpoint, I think that that's my preferable one. That's just my opinion. Now, obviously, I respect everyone else's opinion on it, but I have a feeling that that one does meet sort of where we've been going with these bridges in the last few times that we've had these opportunities to look at sympathetic options. I do think that you guys have done a great job of listening to and looking at some of our previous ideas and how we've been able to put those together. So I do think that that one's closest to an option that I prefer. Number 2 is also kind of a runner-up for me, and I think that that's where our discussion can certainly go from that point. Let others maybe give their opinion if you wish.
Yeah, and I think we'll have that discussion. I think it's not necessary to have
Right.
Stephanie and Dave here for that discussion, but we can certainly, I think that the thing right now is to make sure in whatever your considerations are that you can ask some questions now. And of course, we can always find out, we can always send you, our questions during the month as well if
Yeah.
we get stuck on points.
And
Yeah,
we have, it's a November when the decision's coming, is that correct? For the sympathetic design? So we have some time to consider that too, right?
November 15th is the
Right.
date, and our meeting, I believe, will be before that. Is that correct, Devlin?
It probably would be.
Sorry, could you repeat that, Phil?
Yeah, our next meeting is before November 15th. Is that,
It would be right around that date. I'll have a quick look. Here would be the 9th of November.
so a decision on the 9th would work well then, would it, Stephanie?
Yeah, that would be great if we could hear back anytime around the middle of November. We thought would work well, because then we'll take that information for the preference of the aesthetic design of the concrete parapet walls, and we'll be able to incorporate that in the actual structural design of the bridge, and to show it on the design drawings that we're developing for issuing for the construction tender.
I had a second question about the upstream downstream choice of the plaque. Is there the location itself, is there a preferable location for it, or is that just a choice that is available to us? Like, is there one that seems more logical than another one for the placement of the plaque? I do agree with the pillar. I understand all of the, and I agree with that. And I was just wondering about, you did mention the 2 different options of upstream or downstream, I think is what it was, or northwest, or yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, if I can answer that question for you, Don, it's typically put at the approach end of the bridge.
Okay.
So it'd either be on the southeast corner as you approach from the south, or it would be on the northwest corner as you approach from the north. It's typical as far as like it's the approach end to the actual bridge itself. We could put it in either all the 4 corners or pick one of them, but that's typically what happens.
Yeah, so the way we were thinking of it as, so if you're in more of the urban center of Fergus and you're driving north, you're heading north on First Line out of Fergus towards the rural area, then that approach, that corner that you would see first is the southeast corner. And so for traffic heading north, heading out of town, the southeast corner is the approach corner. Whereas if you're thinking about you're coming from the rural area, you're driving south down First Line, headed into the urban center of Fergus, then your approach corner is the northwest corner. And that's what you would see first if you're driving from the rural area on First Line headed south into the town of Fergus.
Like on your driver's side as you're driving, I
Yeah.
would imagine what we're saying.
Yeah,
Right. Having two plaques, one in both positions, is duplicative, but it's also allows people to recognize that there's something significant about the bridge coming in both directions. I know there's a cost attached to that, but that's something also to maybe for us to consider too, because you did mention the opportunity of having more than one plaque. Is that true?
we're suggesting that one plaque would be reasonable. All of the other examples that we've given, like the Bain Bridge 4WG, there was one plaque there. Kerrs Hill Bridge at 27WG, also in West Fairfax, there was one plaque there. Similarly, the St. David Street Bridge, there's the one brass plaque. So typically that's what we've done, especially with the rural bridges, that they don't see that much vehicle or pedestrian traffic.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. That one is certainly adequate. I was just asking about your feelings on it, but that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had two questions. One is, what would you think of including the railing design from option one, to mark the, as you did in option one, to mark the start and the sort of the opposite ends of the bridge as part of option three?
So you're thinking you would still have the bowstring arch, like the scale down in the middle.
Option three, but adding just the end markers of option one, just those two little, just to mark the end of the original bridge.
Is it possible to bring those back up again so we can look at what you're suggesting, Phil? Maybe Evelyn, is it
I just
possible?
wondered what Stephanie, if that's possible.
I think it's certainly possible. Like basically that would look like your central parapet, or your central arch impression, like at the center of the parapet.
Yep.
And then a gap of like, flat sort of blank parapet wall. And then your railing impression sort of at either end.
Yeah, which we can't see here because we're only looking at option 3 and 2, but I have it on my screen as well from the agenda.
Yeah.
So you'd add just the that little end marker to kind of break up and delineate the long stretch of concrete, and it would provide that I don't want to call it an obscure detail, but it would be the idea that you're marking the ends of the original bridge.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easily doable option. And Dave or Chris, you can let me know if otherwise, but I think that's something, because the consultants have developed these drawings in AutoCAD, I think it would be pretty easily doable for them to sort of just copy those end pieces of the railing from option 1 and like essentially paste them onto option 3, so you could get a visual of what that would look like, and that could be an option 4. I think that would be pretty quick and easy for them to show that image.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's Chris here. That's definitely very easy. We can take the single panels at the end there, which again reflected the railing on the existing retaining walls that are shown there in option 1, and just incorporating those into option 3. Again, it would just have the one one panel or 2 rails between the 2 posts. Those there, Dave is circling there, and on the other side, easily incorporated into, combined with option 3 to make an option 4.
Yeah, and my other question was concerning the location of the plaque, and I guess this is the case. I understand there's safety concerns, and I really wish we had, like, each one of these bridges had some sort of a little rest area or something where the plaques could go. beside them, but obviously they don't. At least not at this time. Who knows in the future there might be, because it would be access to the stream and the river there as well for you know, people passing by. But I'm wondering, is there any thought of mounting, because I'm not sure who is actually ever going to see the plaque on the outside of the bridge in its location. I understand it's, you know, why it's there for sort of engineering and I guess safety reasons. I'm wondering if it's possible to put the plaque on the kind of that sloped end of the bridge.
So sorry, it's Chris again here. So on all of the options, you can see there's a rectangle at the end of the parapets. So those, and there's a note right there, the dedication plaque. So right now we've currently shown it. It's in the end post of the parapet wall, and it's in the upper portion.
Yeah.
That would be on the inside face. So that's on the road side.
That's on the inside. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, perhaps it should be, you know, if somebody ever decides they're going to go and read that plaque, if they're on the southeast approach to the road, they'll actually be with their backs to the traffic. And I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better to consider putting it on the other side so that anybody who did go and look to read the plaque would be facing traffic, as a pedestrian should be.
There may be there may be slope there though, Phil, is maybe what I'm considering.
No, you're on the inside of the bridge.
That's where the plaque are going, on the inside of the bridge, are they not?
Right.
Or-
So you're walking, you're actually on the bridge surface, on the bridge.
So
Yes.
are you suggesting to have it on the a possible ideas on the outside?
No, I'm suggesting put it on the southwest approach, on the southwest side of the bridge,
Right.
so that a pedestrian would be facing traffic if they were to go and be intrepid enough to go and read the plaque, so that they'd be on the correct side of the bridge
Right.
for pedestrians.
Yeah.
I guess it would depend which direction they were walking in.
Well, the traffic is coming on that bridge. So if you're coming on the bridge, the traffic's coming from the north, is on the traveling south, is obviously the traffic that you would want to be on that side of the bridge if you follow my meaning here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Safety concern. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
pedestrians should be, if they were to walk up to the bridge, then they would be sort of reading it. And then, of course, they would sort of have to, I guess, when they're walking away, they would have their back to the traffic. But I don't know, just a thought, like it's,
I was just thinking though, if you're driving, you may not see it because you're in the middle of the road. And I think that's
yeah,
what
I
they're.
don't think you're going to see it either way. Unless, yeah, you know.
Unless you're really actually looking for it, but I'm thinking if you're
But,
driving, you might see it on the left-hand side, where if it's on the right, you might
Yeah.
not even, I don't know.
I don't want to, if it's, yeah, just a thought.
Yeah.
You guys can chat amongst yours.
Yeah, I mean, if any of you are in the West Halifax area, the 4WG bridge on 5th line in West Halifax, the Bain Bridge, they have that plaque installed now, as well as the arch design in the concrete parapet wall. And you might be interested to take a drive by, and I can't actually recall which end of the bridge they mounted the recessed plaque in for Bridge 4WG, but you could take a look and see how you feel about it out sort of in person, you know what I mean? Similarly, Bridge 27WG, Kerrs Hill Bridge on Side Road 20, I think between 5th and 6th line, that has a very similar brass plaque that's recessed into the concrete on the inside face of the bridge. And I think that one we put in, it was that bridge spans Irvine Creek, but it spans east-west. And I think so for traffic driving into town or towards Fergus, they would see it, it would be on the northeast. Yeah, 27WG's plaque is at the northeast corner. So, and on the inside face of the parapet wall. So traffic driving into town, headed into Fergus from the rural area, they see it as they approach the bridge driving into town at the northeast corner of the bridge.
Well, I mean, anybody who goes onto the bridge to read the plaque is, you're basically going to wait till there's no traffic coming anyway, in either direction. So
Yeah.
I think, Phil, you've mentioned,
I'm dogmatic about it.
I believe you've brought up an interesting thing, and I'm more thinking about standardizing. I'll just put a thought out there too, is that it would be interesting to see if we thought about the idea, just an idea to throw out there, of standardizing where the plaque will be on many of these bridges, so we know where to look.
Let me just perhaps what we could do is let's put that element of discussion.
It's much later,
Because I mean, I think we could have that discussion between ourselves. I don't want to take up too much time, so I'm just wondering if there are any more questions specifically on, you know, any of the designs that we haven't heard yet.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do that.
And if not, which it doesn't sound, I'm not back to my full screen here right now. But if not, if anybody is trying to signal me, speak up. No, okay. So if not, then I think Stephanie and Dave, thank you very much for being here. It sounds like we'll be able to come up with a decision on this without any trouble. And I think we can thank you and say goodnight then, I guess.
Okay. And thank you again. We do appreciate having the opportunity to come here today and provide you with this information. And that was a really good discussion and feedback. And we'll take that away with us. And Chris will put together the option 4 with basically combining the arch from option 3 with the short segment of railing at either end. And we will send that to Devlin and Mariana. And then that's an option 4 to add for your consideration for the sympathetic bridge design. And if the committee has any other questions for us, we're certainly available. You could just send an email to myself or Dave or Chris or all 3 of us, and we'd be happy to get back to you for any other information that you might need if you think of questions after the meeting.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure that will be the case. Something will come up. So thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
So just before we proceed to 7.2, I'm just wondering, is there any consensus right now on sort of, we can wait for option 4 to show up, which is just a variation of option 3. What would the committee like to do? Are you happy to wait and make a decision at the next meeting? Lisa?
It's just a suggestion if the committee wanted, because you need to give feedback for the November 9th meeting. You could also form a subcommittee that would just take for a month or so to consider the design options and then bring that back to the committee for a decision in November.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was something we wanted to do in any event. So are there any other thoughts on bridge subcommittee to kind of consolidate what was discussed here tonight and perhaps also review any questions that we might forward and so on? What are the thoughts on that? Christine?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had
I'm
your-
just wondering, could we do a gentle survey right now to see if we had some kind of consensus and then we wouldn't need a subcommittee?
Well, I think we were going to take the option of the subcommittee, which would then continue on perhaps to look at some of the other bridges. So that's an option we have, and perhaps take this opportunity to do that. But we can certainly give the subcommittee an indication right now of what our preference is in terms of options that are already being presented to us, and at the same time see who's interested in pursuing this as a subcommittee. And so we could do both. Do we want to just go around and see what people think about the various options? Nico? Do you have a preference?
I liked your suggestion, Phil, and I also like the suggestion of striking a subcommittee. And I wanted to just follow up on a thought that I had, follow up on what Don was suggesting in terms of the idea of standardization. Not only with regard to where that plaque is placed, but since there are a number of bow bridges that will probably be coming our way, would it be prudent for the subcommittee to think about whether we want to standardize design elements to fit, to more or less fit most of the bow bridges that will be coming our way? Anyway, that's my feedback.
Okay, so you like option 3.
I do.
Okay,
With your suggested alterations. So,
okay. Which will become option 4 then.
Right.
Yeah. Sherry? You?
Yeah, I like 4 as well. I
Okay,
really like the 3, but I like the addition as well.
thank you. Kirk?
I also like 4 the best.
Okay, thank you, Kirk. Let's see, who else have we got here? Don?
Yeah, I made my decision, but I'm, after you've mentioned it, I'm certainly in favor of 4 also. So, and Christine, I think you were suggesting. What were you thinking, Christine? Yeah, okay.
I'm a 4.
And Nanette?
Yeah, I definitely like 4 as well, just because it replicates as much of the bridge as possible, which I think is important. I just wanted to say that maybe we should be mindful of standardizing replacement elements in future bridges that come up, just because I think that we should be thinking about trying to save some of the bridges rather than thinking ahead about how they're going to look when we replace them.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the real reason for the subcommittee would be to allow for some advanced planning, with our engineering team, and also so that they can sit down and have that sort of discussion. What are the bridges that are coming up that we might consider saving and focus there? Is that a good summary of what we're thinking of? Okay. Well, I think so. We've got right now we've got the, is there anything more we should do then to formalize that option 4? Or can we do that at the next meeting, Doug?
You can do it now or at the next meeting, whatever you prefer.
All right, well, why don't we do that to say, pending viewing of option 4 as it comes through the additional CAD drawing. The committee is in favor of option 4. Do we need a motion on that?
That sounded like a perfect motion to me if you have a mover and seconder for it.
You have a mover for that? Nanette, a seconder? I see Sherry. Okay, all in favor then of option 4 pending viewing of the CAD drawing? Okay, and that's motion's carried. Thank you. I should have asked opposed. Thank you. Okay, the motion's carried. So we have that. Thank you very much. And are there any people who would like to then be part of a bridge subcommittee going forward to look at the various bridges coming up? I see Nanette has got her hand up. Dawn, okay. Well, that's two, and we could certainly, I'm sure you can, Adam, that would probably be a group you'd work with. And Mariana would also be part of that subcommittee typically. So, and I think, yeah, so why don't we say that we also will then form the subcommittee for the bridge with Dawn and Nanette to start. And we can perhaps come up with a, and this will be a standing committee then of the Heritage Committee. Okay, thank you very much. We can flesh that out, I guess, a little bit after the meeting. Okay, so moving on then to item Bridge 16WG, item 7.2. A report from Adam Gilmore, our manager of engineering. Adam?
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair Brown. Devlin, if you can just give me permission to share my screen. We've prepared a few slides for you here to guide you through where we're at in the project. All right, and can I just get a thumbs up that you can see that? Oops, sorry, might be a little too zoomed in. There, is that displaying? Great, thank you. Yeah, so really happy to be here to speak to the committee again on this project that's been ongoing. So I'm joined by Lisa Marshall, who's our consultant lead for Macintosh Perry. So Lisa and myself form the project team on this. And we wanted to come back and provide you an update on the preferred bridge solution. So that's what we'll be presenting today. So the study area is displayed in the key map here. So this bridge 16WG is located on the 5th line just north of Bellwood Lake, and it spans the Irvine Creek.
Adam, you didn't advance, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Sometimes it does this. Let me stop share and start share again. All right, try this again. Can you see it advancing here? Still no. Oh, okay. Try this one more time. Okay, is it advancing now?
Yes.
Great. Okay, thank you. Third time's charm. So this is the map that I was speaking of. So just to show you the location, 5th line north of Bellwood Lake, spanning near Vine Creek. So the bridge is currently closed. It was closed this year due to structural deterioration and concerns with safety. So project timeline for our municipal Class CA study. So we retained Macintosh Perry in April of this year. In May of this year, we issued a notice of study commencement. The team presented an overview of the study to Heritage Committee in June, which was really our introduction to the project for the committee. In September, we provided the committee with a copy of the Cultural Heritage Evaluation Report and a Cultural Heritage Impact Assessment for information. So now we're here in October presenting on the preferred bridge solution. And some of the, I'd say very preliminary ideas we have with respect to the heritage features to be considered during detailed design. So in November, we plan on presenting the preferred solution to council for their endorsement of the solution, and pending council's endorsement of the preferred solution, we would issue a notice of study completion, put the project file report on public record, and complete the study in late December, early January of 2022. We would then proceed with detailed design and construction in 2023, start of construction. So shown you this before, and this is not intended to understand this and kind of read through this diagram, but this is just to illustrate that we're following the municipal class environmental assessment process, which is an approved process under the provincial environmental assessment regulation or provincial environmental assessment act. And so, through the municipal class E process, we develop solutions, we evaluate them, and we consult with stakeholders, which is why we're here. And that's the point we're at in the project. So I'm going to turn it over to Lisa now to walk us through the alternatives and the evaluation.
Perfect. Good evening. So to address the problem and opportunity statement, the following alternative solutions were developed. You would have seen these during our last presentation, but I'll just quickly go through them again just to regen every memories on them. So the first one was alternative 1 is do nothing, which involves leaving the existing bridge in place in its deteriorating condition and continue to restrict public access. Alternative 2 is removal of the existing bridge and construct new turnaround areas on the east and west side of Irvine Creek. Alternative 3 is replace the existing bridge with new structure in its current location. And then alternative 4 is the rehabilitation of the existing bridge to meet engineering and public safety standards, as well as reinstate the existing water crossing. As we highlighted at our previous Heritage Committee meeting for this assignment, a cultural heritage impact assessment was completed for the study area in 2013, which found the bridge to meet one of the criteria for determining of cultural heritage value and interest. A cultural heritage evaluation report was then completed again in May 2021 to provide additional analysis and confirm the evaluation of the findings in the 2013 HIA. The HIA and the share determined that the bridge is a rare example of a solid spindle concrete arch bridge from the earliest 20th century. Due to these findings, a secondary HIA was completed in July 2021 to examine the potential impacts associated with each of the alternative solutions that we have identified and make mitigation recommendations. So each of our evaluation, or each of the alternative solutions were evaluated using the following criteria, which we looked at last time when we met, but I'll quickly go over them again. So we looked at it from a structural and technical point of view, from a safety, traffic, operations, construction, staging, and duration, extension of service life, as well as impacts to the natural environment. So any environmental sensitive areas, wildlife habitat, fisheries, aquatic habitat, species at risk, as well as from a social and economic point of view, cultural and heritage, archaeological, construction impacts, and then consultation input we received, as well as capital costs, operational and maintenance costs. So the next few slides that we'll go through is are sort of as a summarize of our key considerations identified during the evaluation process to aid in the selection of our technically preferred alternative. So the first one, alternative 1, is do nothing. The pros associated with it was no construction related impacts, no terrestrial wildlife, groundwater, or climate change impacts, lowest capital costs due to minimal project scope. The cons associated with this one does not provide connectivity for the traffic on Fifth Line over the Irvine Creek, does not exceed the service life, and may propose significant risks from a structural engineering perspective. Continued deterioration of the bridge may pose significant impacts to the environment, from concrete falling from the structure and potential structure collapsing into the water course. From a heritage perspective, this isn't considered a viable alternative. Continued inaction on the deteriorating structure will amount to demolition by neglect, which would result in a total loss of cultural heritage resource and may pose a health and safety concern. Alternative 2 is the remove the bridge and construct turnarounds. The pros associated with this one is preliminary address the safety concerns with the bridge permanently, provides a safe turnaround areas at Irvine Creek. Durability is considered the best as there is no structural engineering risks, no anticipated natural environment, groundwater, or structural water impacts, and the costs associated with this option are second lowest as the service life is unrestricted. The cons associated with this one: does not provide connectivity for traffic on 5th line, removal of the bridge impacts emergency services response times, and potential longer routes for municipal services as well as the public. Feasible from a heritage perspective by incorporating mitigations to commemorate the bridge, such as a cultural heritage resource document report and commemorative display. Alternative 3 is replace the bridge. The pros associated with it: provides safe connectivity for the traffic for 5th line, addresses safety concerns by providing 2 lanes of traffic over the structure, provides an anticipated extension of service life of 75 years. Engineering risks are considered low as all the components would be new. New bridge may be constructed with a larger hydraulic opening to support conveyance capacity, and best option for municipal service vehicles as the bridge would not require height or load restrictions. The cons associated with it: highest capital cost. However, this alternative is more economical solution based on the anticipated extension of service life of 75 years. Operational and maintenance costs are anticipated second highest. Potential impacts to resident property entrances may be required if a potential rate raise is required at the approaches. Moderate construction related impacts. However, since the bridge is currently closed, it's thought to remain closed until construction, so that's why it's sort of identified as minimal. From heritage perspective, it's a favorable option by incorporating mitigation measures. Commemorate the bridge. Once again, do a cultural heritage resource document report, commemorative display, and a sympathetic design could be considered. Alternative 4, rehab. The pros associated with it: reinstate connectivity for 5th line traffic over Irvine Creek. No long-term impacts to emergency service response times. The cons associated with it: rehabilitation is not considered viable from a bridge engineering perspective due to the current condition of the structure. Does not address safety concerns related to traffic capacity. The existing bridge doesn't meet the current MTO design guidelines for vertical clearance. Therefore, it overtopped during the regional storm. Height and low posting still may be required after rehab, and the costs associated with the alternatives are second highest. However, this has the least economical alternative based on the extension of service life, which would approximately be only an additional 15 years. Most preferred option from a heritage perspective. However, rehabilitation is not viable from a bridge engineering perspective as the condition of the structure has surpassed the repairable state. In considering the social and economical impacts associated with Alternative 2 and the significant engineering risks with Alternative 4, the recommended technically preferred alternative solution at this time is Alternative 3, to replace the structure. This alternative has the best balanced benefits from a transportation, operations, and structural point of view, while maintaining minimal impacts to social and economic, as well as the natural environment. However, from a cultural perspective, it would mean a loss of a rare solid spindle concrete arch bridge. The 2021 HIA determined that this alternative is feasible. However, if selected, bridge conservation measures would be put in place, such as completing a full recording and documentation of the structure, and also consider salvage of elements of the bridge to incorporate into the new structure or future conservation work displays, should it be considered. However, the HIA did note further on in the report that the design of the existing bridge does not lend itself well to salvaging elements, as none of them can be removed or salvaged since the original balusters have already been taken away. The HIA did recommend a plaque be installed at the site, and the content would include history of the bridge, photographs, and landscape as it evolved over time. The HIA also notes that this alternative could also present an opportunity to honor the bridge by incorporating sympathetic design elements. So the Cultural Heritage Resource Document Report would need to be completed by a qualified heritage consultant, and it would include updated photos documenting the structure from all angles, photographs of landscaping surrounding the bridge, maps, physical description of the resources, detailed description of landscape and context, as well as built drawings and heritage photos, and photographs of the ridge being demolished by a qualified heritage consultant. This document would then be filed with the Township of Center Wellington, the Heritage Committee, as well as local libraries. Adam, I'll throw it back to you if you want to talk about the plaques.
Thanks very much, Lisa, for walking us through that. So just to wrap it up here, in the last presentation, 24WG, the team did a great job of walking through some examples of commemorative plaques in the township. So we just wanted to emphasize that again here. That's definitely something we'll look at through detailed design. So we've got the Victoria Street Bridge plaque here, St. David Street Bridge, and the Kerrs Hill Bridge. So these elements will be further considered and refined during the detailed design stage of the project in 2022. So to recap our milestones again, so we're here with you today to get the committee's input on our preferred alternative. We do plan on presenting it to Committee of the Whole on November 22nd for Council's endorsement of the preferred alternative. We would then advertise a project file report as required through the municipal Class A process in December, wrap up in January with the notice of study completion and recommendation to proceed to detailed design. Design would be completed in 2022 and construction in 2023. And I just want to emphasize, I think we have this great consultation model with the Heritage Committee where we're touching base with the committee at various stages of the project. As you saw in the last presentation, that project is further ahead than this one. And we want to continue to do that. So through the detailed design stage, we would be coming back to the Heritage Committee for further input on the design itself and to present some options. Thank you very much. That's everything we have, and yeah, happy to answer any questions or field any comments you might have.
Yeah, thank you. So we have the full, I'd just like to be able to see who's interested in asking questions. I think I just wanted to, has Mariana left us? Yes. So I think the only question really for us in terms of giving feedback would be, do we have any intent or is there any feeling that this is a bridge that we would consider designating in order to see, is that even a question for us? I think that's basically what you're looking for in terms of feedback from us tonight. Is that not correct, Lisa? Sorry, yeah, Lisa. Lisa and Adam.
Yeah.
Lisa, right.
Yeah, we're just, any feedback with respect to, the preferred alternative at this time. I know rehab is generally a preferred one when it comes to a heritage structure, but due to the condition, like we said, it's at a point where it needs to be replaced. So yes, we're just looking for feedback and how the committee would like to proceed.
Okay, so I'll open it up to questions concerning anything on the presentation. Kirk, go ahead.
Thank you. I just had a question for the replaced bridge. You mentioned that there is potential impacts to residential properties because of having to change the grade. Does the township then fix those problems if they happen?
With respect, so the grade raise would be a result based on the hydraulic capacity of the existing structure. Currently, it doesn't meet the design storm. So we would be looking at doing a grade raise, and there would need to be further investigation with respect to topo and survey and to figure out where the impact would be and how high the structure would have to raise to see it, if those impacts, they can be mitigated. You can always put retaining walls along the side to reduce impact to residents as well. From a property perspective, there's definitely design elements that can be put into place.
I guess my question really is, would is there a chance that by replacing the bridge, it would be creating long-term runoff issues in farmers' fields or driveways or something of that nature?
No, because that would all be taken into consideration into our design when we do our model. And when the future detailed design, like we've done a preliminary model based on the proposed options to see what they would have to be placed at, what the soffit elevation would be placed at. So that model allows us to see what the impacts, where the flood line is. And the Conservation Authority also wouldn't allow us to increase the floodplain or the flood elevation. We would have to meet those guidelines.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, Councillor McElwain, thanks, Lisa. I think we typically, when we replace these bridges, we try to remedy any of those flooding issues that may have existed historically with the new bridge design, and also with some of the grading changes we might make in the approach to the bridge. We always keep historical flooding in mind, and we're trying to design so that the infrastructure is resilient to to those flooding events.
Gerrie?
I particularly like the arch under the bridge. I think aesthetically it looks beautiful the way it is. And it looks like it's just a solid cement bridge. So I'm thinking, how difficult would that be to just make a bridge identical to that bridge? I mean, I understand this one's falling apart and all of that, but I love that archway underneath, and I would hate to see that arch taken away with just something flat.
So
yeah, I can try that one.
Okay.
At least if you want to jump in, yes. Yeah. So thanks very much, Gerrie, for the comment there, and through you, Chair Brown. So the challenge, I think, with an arch is from a hydraulic perspective. It doesn't allow as much water to move under the bridge compared to a design that with a girder span, for instance, where you're maintaining the soffit, which is the underside of the bridge, at a higher elevation. And when you have those types of flooding events, more water can actually flow under the bridge compared to an arch, which can be a bit of a restriction to the flow of water under the bridge. And do I have that right, Lisa?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And as well as like to make that span reach across the water course itself. Like right now, we don't have a photo of it up, but it restricts, it doesn't follow the same flow of the water. So it's constricting it at that crossing. So we would technically want to open that up to meet it. And then you don't have undermining the bridges, and the bridges last longer, and various other elements from a structural standpoint. But yes, we would want to be able to convey more water through the structure, because like I said, right now it doesn't meet the design storm MTO standards.
Okay, thank you, Adam and Lisa, for that. Gerrie, I think and I mean, we can bring this up again in the future in terms of the design if you want, but I think your question then is actually indicating that the replacement of the bridge is what we're looking at is a replacement of the bridge, option 3. Although you're discussing sort of what the future replacement would look like.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, if the arch is too narrow, I get that. You're saying that it's channeled through that archway. Why can't we just make the archway a little bit wider? And
I apologize. I'm not a structural engineer by trade by any means, but it gets more expensive from a structural standpoint. And just the physics of it, like just to get the opening in the structure, it's doable, but it's just, everything comes at a cost, right?
Yes, but as a heritage element, we don't worry about the cost. We worry about the look, really.
Yeah, no, and that's absolutely a fair point, and something that I think we could carry into the detailed design stage of the project and really take a look at it at that point.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Lisa.
Just to maybe assist the committee, I believe, and Adam, please correct me if I'm wrong, that what was presented to us this evening, that the preferred option is currently demolition. So the committee's decision tonight is either to designate the bridge or to do nothing, which means the demolition would proceed. So we could pass a designation or pass a recommendation, sorry, as well, that they be consulted in the sympathetic design and commemoration, as we just did with Bridge 24 WG, if there's no desire from the committee to designate this bridge.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. So
Just
yeah,
with Mariana's absence, I thought maybe I could lend a hand.
refocus the conversation. So yeah, with that in mind, are there any questions then with respect to designating the bridge? We could actually have this conversation after Adam and Lisa, because we're if there are no questions for them on any of the other aspects of the presentation, then we can have that conversation after they go. Nico.
I do just have a question that puts us back to some of the discussion we had last week. And perhaps, Adam, you could just remind me, both me and the committee. We have a bridge in Salem that is very similar in design and that is being rehabilitated. Is that just by way of a reminder? Is that correct? And I presume that bridge in Salem then also would give us some idea as to what the original balusters for this particular bridge might have looked like.
Yeah, thanks, Nico. That's correct. So as I presented last time, yeah, it's referred to as Bridge 12N, or the Washington Street Bridge in Salem. And that is an example of a concrete spandrel arch bridge. And we do intend on investing some money into repairing that bridge and maintaining it in its original form.
Any other questions then along the same lines on the presentation? Okay, I think that's great. Then thank you very much, Adam and Lisa. And I'm sure we'll be able to come to a decision here shortly on how to proceed with this.
Thank you.
We'll follow up, of course, if we have any questions to you in the future. Yeah. Is there anyone then who has any thing to say with respect to designating this bridge on the committee?
I wouldn't mind designating it. I just don't want to see it sit there and nothing happen to it. Because
well, I think the option would be, in order to prevent demolition, we would have to designate it. But right. The option would not be, if that were to be accepted by the council as our recommendation, then obviously that wouldn't be the case, because the bridge would not just sit there.
Okay.
Am I correct in that reasoning? If the council were to accept, it's kind of a moot question because we've been told the bridge is not structurally sound. So we could designate it, it would go to council, and then council would have to proceed on those, on the various other recommendations and facts of the situation, which would probably overrule just leaving the bridge sitting there. If I'm, yes, go ahead, Lisa.
So just for clarification of the process, the committee can recommend designation to council, and then ultimately it's council's decision whether they choose to designate the bridge. Yeah. So just because the committee recommends it doesn't mean it automatically happens. Council would weigh all the factors of the environmental assessment and the recommendations. The committee here considers the heritage attributes. Council considers everything when making their decision.
So Anyone else have any thoughts then on how we should proceed? Thank you, Lisa, by the way. Okay, well, may I suggest then that we do not designate the bridge, and that we, as Lisa just suggested, we move to request that we're consulted on the design and the commemoration strategy as described in alternative 3. That would be my suggestion. If there aren't any others from the rest of the committee. Yeah, Don?
And I wanted to add with what Sherry's saying too. I believe that since we have this other bridge, which is a very good sample of it, I'm not sure, Adam and Lisa, I know Adam, we talked about this, I think last time, and we're talking about a different bridge now, but this is the one in Salem, which is a good example, and rehabilitating it. Did we request to be involved in that process too, in terms of commemoration of that bridge and making maybe reference to this bridge that one? Does anybody remember at what stage we were at the last time? Because I'm just trying to help in the process that we are not demolishing all of these bridges as examples. We do have one example that's left would be a footbridge, if I'm right. Is it not, Adam? It's not a...
Yeah, that's correct. It's closed to vehicle traffic.
So what I'm just suggesting, is it possible that we become part of that process too, in terms of commemoration of that bridge and making reference to this bridge as once existing too? Does that make any sense to anyone?
I think we need to keep the bridges separate here. We can always follow that up through the
Right.
bridge.
Okay. Good advice. Thank you.
Lisa?
Just for clarification, Phil, it was this exact bridge we were talking about at the previous committee meeting, 16 WG. We're just here with more information. So the conversation is actually about the same bridge in reference to, and we're going back to the Salem Bridge, that is the same. So just for clarification, Don, yes, this is the same bridge that this conversation turned to last meeting in September.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to complicate things with another question, but thanks you, Lisa.
No, that's good. All right, so I think then that would be our, if there are no objections, can I get some sort of a indication from the remaining committee members then? Are we in favor then of being consulted on the replacement bridge and the commemorative strategy? I'm seeing Christine nodding. Do we need a motion on this? We're not gonna, it sounds like there is no desire to designate this bridge. Is that correct from the committee?
There should be a motion, Phil, that requesting that you guys be consulted on the sympathetic redesign and commemoration.
I guess I was just trying to get some indication as to whether, if there is no one who's interested in suggesting we designate the bridge, then let's have a motion. Yeah, to be consulted on the design, the sympathetic design, and the commemoration strategy as described in option 3. And is there anyone who would like to move that? Don, seconders? Okay, Devlin, could you read the motion then? Or Lisa?
Just writing it here, but that Heritage Center Wellington accepts alternative 3 as the preferred option and be included in the sympathetic design and commemorative strategy.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor? Okay, and opposed? Okay, I believe I didn't really see Nico, which way did you vote?
Sorry, I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like the motion is, that was unanimous, I believe, and motion's carried. I see Christine with her hand up now.
Yes. I just want to direct Adam and Lisa's attention to the timeline on the second last slide that we saw. Down at the bottom, it said January 2021, and I wondered if it should have been January 2022.
Yeah, thanks, Christine. So I believe that was January 2021. That's when we're completing the municipal Class EA study.
Okay.
So that's the study that we're doing currently, and so that would establish the preferred solution, which would then be carried forward into the detailed design. Oh, I'm sorry, if it said 2021, that's incorrect. It should have been 2022. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam and Lisa. I think then we'll see you next then with some designs. And perhaps also there'll be some consultation from the subcommittee during that time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, I don't want to push you along, but we are at 7:30 and I wanted to get to 7.3 where we also have another delegation. Yes. So item 7.3, notice of intent to demolish the rear addition listed property 6550 Gerrie Road in Elora. And the details of that demolition and photographs are in the agenda. And just to remind the committee that what we will be, this is a listed property, so unless we were to designate the property, if we were to potentially seriously object either to the demolition or the design, the only way to have any input on it would be then to designate the property. So with that in mind, Fred, I'm sorry I don't have your last name, but please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you. I don't.
Welcome to the committee.
Thank you very much. And I don't have much of a presentation other than the fact that I'd just like to appear in front of you folks today in order to get permission to demolish a 1980s back porch that's attached to our house at 6550 Gerrie Road. And the reason that we would like to do that is we have plans drawn up to put an addition on the back of the house, which will comprise a new kitchen, a sitting room, a breakfast area, and a powder room on the ground floor, and upstairs a master bedroom suite and a second floor laundry, as well as a new family bathroom. These changes that we propose to making to the house will make it more conducive to modern living. And we've put a huge amount of thought and time into preserving the original floor plan of the 1836 house. So we're even inside, we're not taking down or building any walls. The house still maintains its original floor plan 185 years later. And we will not be disturbing that floor plan at all. And what we're really doing is trying to move all of the plumbing out of the Century home. If any of you folks have a stone house, you realize it's a fortress, right? So we would like to relocate all of the plumbing that's in the Century home outside of the Century home into the new addition, such that it's easier to access if there's any problems in the future. And the addition was designed by Rob Vanderwood from Elevate Design, who I believe you've seen his designs appear in front of you folks before. And he's come up with a very sympathetic design for our house, taking into concern our view from the primary viewing angle of the house, which is the southeast corner. And he's taken care to tuck it back to the north and west of the house so that we don't even really interfere with the current view of the Century home. So that's sort of our presentation to you. We would like to get permission to get that demolition permit, to get a building permit, and to get our septic permit. We're also upgrading the house with a brand new septic system. These are all changes that we feel not only will enhance living in the house for ourselves, but preserve the house for future generations.
Thank you, Fred. That was tremendous. I'm sure the committee has questions for you in some capacity. So I'll open up the floor to questions for Fred.
Oh, come on, Nico, you must have something to ask me. Nico's been to my house, so.
Okay, well, we can do both questions and comments.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't see anybody asking any questions, so I'm going to move straight to the motion then, which we would be asked if we're not interested in, if there's no objection, then Heritage Center Wellington does not object to the demolition of this structure in order to allow for the, and that wouldn't be part of the motion. So Heritage Center Wellington does not object to the demolition of the structure as described in the agenda item. Good, so that's the motion. Anyone, any discussion on that motion? If there's no discussion on the motion, I don't see anyone. Then all in favor of the motion? Okay, and
Sorry, Phil, did you get a mover and a seconder for
I'm
that?
sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. It's getting late.
No problem.
Yep, thank you for keeping me on track. Who would like to move this motion? Sherry, okay, and then I'm going to say Nico will be our seconder. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
And once again, all in favor of the motion? One more time. Okay, and opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. It's carried. Thank you very much, Fred. It looks.
Thank you, everyone.
I really love the look of it.
Thank you. And don't be afraid. If we get permission from council, which we hope to get on the 19th, work will start on Monday, the 25th of October. And any folks who are part of the Heritage Committee, don't be shy about stopping around, knocking on the back door and take a look at what we're doing. And we hope to be able to show it all to you when it gets done in the late spring.
Well, that sounds wonderful. It's an exciting time for you. Good luck with that project.
Thank you.
Really going to extend the life of that century home. And perhaps you'd consider coming back and allowing us to designate the property when you're done.
We can talk about that for sure.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, everyone. I'm much obliged. Good to see you guys, all my friends here. Actually, it's awesome to see so many of you here. Have a great evening, and thank you so much for your support.
Okay. Thank you, Fred.
Have a good evening.
Good night. Okay, great. Subcommittee reports, I believe 8.1, Public Relations and Education Subcommittee. I think, oh, I don't see. Did Christine leave? Yeah, she had to leave, sorry. Okay, so Christine's gone. We still have a quorum, don't we? Or do we need it? We don't even need a quorum now, do we?
You still have quorum.
Okay. Designated Properties Subcommittee. Any comments from the Designated Properties Subcommittee? No. And the Municipal Register Subcommittee, there's nothing to report there either at this point. So that moves us to an information item. Did everyone, window replacement on a listed property on the Heritage Registry as a listed property, 70 Victoria Street in Elora. There was a written submission from Ian Rankin and Daniel Bratt with a follow-up letter from Daniel Bratton regarding whether or not the essential question in the letter was Center Wellington, Heritage Center Wellington consulted on the replacement windows that have appeared in that structure. And I'm wondering, I mean, I spoke with Mariana about this morning. She advised that because it's a listed property, we are only consulted with respect to a demolition as what just happened in 7.3. So because there was no demolition permit requested, we were not consulted and we were not notified. All that would have been issued was a building permit to change the windows. There are some other additional comments in the letter. But essentially, I think what we'll do is we can, between Devlin and myself, we can format a response to Ian and Dr. Bratton and answer that question for them. Are there any comments beyond that on this info item? Nico.
Yes, thank you, Phil. I drove by that that property, and I did notice the two sort of horizontal-looking windows that had been put on. What I am left wondering, those windows were put on a back portion of that building. And what I wasn't sure about, and what didn't come through in the material that we had received about the property previously, is that back portion where those windows are located. I'm not sure if that was part of the original building or if that was in fact an addition. If at some point we were looking at the possibility that this property might be designated, it would be good to know what exactly we would be looking at in terms of designation, whether it's the front part of the building or whether in fact the portion of the building that those two windows are located on, whether that's in fact an addition or not.
Okay, just a comment to respond to that. Based on my conversation with Mariana, I believe there have been some ongoing discussions about other aspects of this with the owners. So I'm not sure we were consulted on the windows, but so that's something that we could follow up on, if that's okay with you.
I would appreciate that. That would be great. Thank you.
And Don?
I do recall this property coming up in the subcommittee designation. The designation subcommittee would probably recall this. I think around April or March in our agenda, there was a public request for this property to be designated. And if I recall, I think at that time it went to that committee. Does anybody in that committee recall this? I'll mention a few things that you may remember. One of the things about the property had to do with a church location, and the other was the fact that it had a location for the only meeting of I'm trying to think of what it was, the only meeting in all of Wellington County for does anybody remember what I'm talking about back in March when this came forward? It was a
Don, could I ask that we because this is an information item and it was dealing specifically with the windows,
right,
narrow the focus on this discussion.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah.
And then because Erin's not here.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
That'd be a question for her. Okay. Sorry.
That's certainly something that you can follow up on with Erin and other members of the Dedication Subcommittee, and also with Mariana, because I think right now we're basically speculating without having any way to answer the question.
Right. Okay.
But I hope that's okay with you on that.
Oh yeah, it's fine. I just seem to recall this property coming up as it was a request from the public to have this house looked at for this property to be looked at for designation because of its historical significance.
And I think that we won't be able to answer that question.
No, of course not without the committee member here. Yeah.
Okay, so we will follow up on this item. That brings us to 9.2, which is the Healthy Growth Advisory Committee update.
Yes, I can say on that front that the Healthy Growth Committee has been discussing ways in which to increase attainable housing in keeping with the encouragement of the province that we move forward in this regard. The committee is supporting moving toward consideration to combine several different planning types into one, while at the same time being very prescriptive in terms of the requirements for approval. So I think that's all I have to report on that at this point.
Great. Yeah, and I think there was something that it would potentially would be some further direction would come from council on this. That was, yeah. Great. Thank you very much for that. And that brings us to the end of our agenda for this evening. So I would like to thank everybody for being a part of the committee today and of the meeting today. And we'll no doubt have some conversations during the month, and we'll see you next month on November 9th, was it? I believe, yeah. So we have a adjourn the meeting by consensus. That's correct. Yeah. Okay. So everyone's in favor. Thank you. Thank you and good night.
Thanks, Phil.